just want to welcome you, and we can proceed with the discussion.
So we're now taking questions. Remember, please, we'll keep it to one question per media house. So we'll begin with Marcel.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Marcel Msinari, Business Daily newspaper. Mr. President, UN-Rwanda relations have been characterized by bickering and accusations for the past 2 decades. Yet, we keep forces...
Only, I think, 5 decades.
Thank you for the correction, Mr. President. Yet we keep our forces there for peacekeeping. Why do we live this double life? Why wouldn't Rwanda decide either to call it a day with the UN, or at least to demand very important changes in the UN system? Mr. President, if you accept small groups, non-state actors, are now able to to destabilize whole nations. We've seen that in Somalia, we've seen that in the DRC, we've seen that almost everywhere, where Boko Haram in Nigeria and all that. The UN seems not to be able to cope with these issues. And so, why would we stay in an organization that doesn't seem to do its work and has no future? Thank you, Mr. President.
Rugendo?
Mr. President, I'm very tall as I stand up. Your Excellency, my name is Rugendo. I'm from Red Pepper in Uganda. My question, I wish to take you to DRC. Recently, Rwanda was accused of supporting the rebels allied to General Ntaganda. Rwanda denied, but I want to ask, in your view, does Rwanda have issues and concerns in that part of the region, in that part of the country, or with the DRC government?
Take this. The second question, UN, Rwanda, and so on and so forth. Why live this kind of double life, as you said? I wish I didn't have to. But again, the world we live in, Marcel, as you know, is a world full of imperfections, again, that we have probably talked about. And the problems of Rwanda, and particularly the problems of Rwanda and the UN, have a long history, yes. That's true, but I think there are other problems that have affected other countries as well. That's why the other day, when other questions like these came up, relating to Congo and so on, which we will talk about in a moment, because it also comes up in the third question, in the following question. That's why the other day I was telling you sometimes the world behaves as if, and particularly the UN, as if the problems of Congo, as of old, have been caused by Rwanda, or should actually be Rwanda's responsibility. And I was reminding people that even before I was born, there were these problems in the Congo. So before so many people in this room, Rwandese, were born, including me, we had problems in the Congo, and problems relating to the UN and the colonial history, as you may have it. And from that time, nothing has changed between then and now. So with the UN and Rwanda, you remember we have another issue that I can bring out, relating even to the tragic history of our country when we had genocide here. UN was involved, by the way. It was not involved in, well, I was going to say not involved in the killings, but it depends on what you mean. Because if you don't act when you should have acted to prevent something, and when you were supposed to, I think there is some level of responsibility over that. But you remember that history of UN's involvement in Rwanda before, during, and after genocide, and all the failures that we witnessed throughout that period. But at the end of the day, UN is a body that serves, or said, or expected to serve all of us, and we are members of the UN. And again, this is what brings the kind of, creates the kind of complex situation. Sometimes when you mean the UN or the international community, I'm not always sure we fully understand, or we understand the same way what we are talking about. Sometimes it really means nothing. It means everything, but in the end it means nothing. You look around and say, but who is the UN? You know, and then you say, oh, so maybe it's me and you. But when it comes to holding people responsible, you don't know who the UN is. And then when you talk about international community, the definition is elastic. It's something you can play with as much as you want and to the extent you want. When it comes to responsibility, you really don't know who to blame. But at the same time, these are things that exist. And these are things that exist that involve us as well. So I would rather, with that question, I would separate things. Well, there is the UN, and then as we grapple with the definition and what it means and what we can do with it and so on and so forth, we go along with it because we are even told we are members of that, we are part of it, we can make some contribution maybe that together with others we can make a difference. But at the same time, is the other part, which is now Rwanda, that we specifically are our responsibility. Rwanda is our responsibility. All of us, Rwandans, and the others who wish to be associated with that. So we have to specifically concentrate on our responsibilities and as Rwandans, as Rwanda. So we have Rwanda and the UN in that busy but not clear interaction. So we try to play our part as relates us to the rest of the world and through the UN or with the UN, and also keep making a reference to the UN as that body where we also make a contribution. It's a complex kind of thing. So that's why there is this kind of life that we have to live. The world is not, I wish it was as straight as maybe everyone would find easier. But that's not the case. So, DRC. Rugendo, with the DRC, it's a complex thing again. I really don't know where to start from and where to end, but I'll try. I cannot understand, though, even as I try to speak to this question, why in the world, and again relating to the previous question, I don't know where this comes from, and I don't know why it is a kind of storyline that is always, taken across all kinds of discussions, that Rwanda comes to bear almost full responsibility for everything that happens in the Congo. I've never understood this, but that's the case. It's as if Congo does not exist on its own or does not have its own problems that should be addressed by the Congolese themselves and whoever else wants to deal with that and so on and so forth. No. A situation has been created where Congo's problems are Rwanda's problems, and not only that, actually they have been caused by Rwanda. And when everything else has failed, it is Rwanda that must be held to account for Congo, and so on and so forth. And it goes on and on and on and on with everyone. Even my friends in the media and other places, people really who are even known and said to be knowledgeable, to take their time and study cases and investigate and interrogate things, and they do that within academia, wherever, the political scientists. At the end of the day, it is if there is a problem in the Congo, well, and there have been problems for so long, go to Rwanda, ask questions there, and hold these Rwandans responsible for it, and so on and so forth. And even if there was to be a responsibility, maybe we would need to say, well, this is really Rwanda's problem, but the rest is Congo's problems. But no, there is nothing like that. It is all problems are Rwanda's problems, and Rwanda actually has responsibility for it. So when you say, are there issues? There are issues. There have been issues for so long. And the understanding of that, the definition of that, so distorted, so confused. And I also see running away from issues. I think Rwanda has more or less become a convenient way for people to try and explain away their responsibilities, either to do something in the Congo or, to be seen to be trying to contribute to it. And so if it fails, then it is Rwanda, it is not them, then, and so on. So everything, even if there was to be any responsibility for Rwanda's part, then that, makes it easy for everything to come and be put on the shoulders of Rwanda. Now, let me take a little time, if you bear with me, to talk about the current situation, which really surprises me, and I put it straight and this way. If you are honest, people have been following this situation. It's not so long ago. Well, we had what we had in the mid-90s onwards, 2000, early 2000s, and so on and so forth. And then recently, just maybe let me start from 2009, where we had these issues in Eastern Congo, and we tried to, again, under the same false presentation of the problem. But nonetheless, we remained engaged. In fact, we tried to be helpful. And here, if you remember, we have a situation here which we are still stuck with, of a person known as Laurent Nkunda. You've heard of that. We've had to bear every responsibility for him, for that situation that created him, and so on and so forth. And we accepted it. We put it on our shoulders. But hoping that, one, it helps two situations. One, to deal with the Eastern Congo problems, generally for Congo, but also result into a solution for our problem based there. You know, the genociders who are staying there. And it was like we were even buying cooperation in that situation of the Congolese government, or even of international community, so that actually our problem is also dealt with. And if you remember here, the UN that is based in the Congo, if you remember the background, the MONUSCO that is there, why it came there, it was largely because of the problem relating to genocide and the perpetrators of genocide, as well as contribute to stabilization of Congo and so on and so forth. With the history of that I don't have to dwell on so much. But if you look at from that period onwards, which again we'll talk about, you look at what this UN is doing, that would explain why the international community thought about having this presence, and a very expensive presence, and you don't see the results. At least I don't. Maybe in our discussions you let me understand this. I don't see anything that I would pay for even $1. And they pay 1.2 billion every year for doing nothing. And then they turn around and ask Rwanda to deal with every problem that originates from there. Now, so we have this man Nkunda here, bearing all responsibility, legal and other cases. We are being accused every day. We are holding this man for, you should not be holding him, da 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 da. At the same time, this world of hypocrisy, quietly is saying, you did the right thing to hold this man, to get this man out of this situation, and then, okay, you say, but we got nothing in the end out of it. Because we thought we would get peace in Eastern Congo, because that's what they said, and we had always been warning them that, you see, you want to deal with one man, but even if you went and killed him, or removed him, and as we did, and we have him here, you have not solved the problem, because you are not solving the underlying problems in Eastern Congo or in the whole of Congo, which is a serious governance issue. Well, they didn't listen. We solved that. Now, the point I was coming to, just a period before elections, during and after, recent ones, in the DRC, this same so-called international community is all over the place. It's like they're asking, again, they are now coming to ask Rwanda, and they are talking about it everywhere. It's like, but this Congo, these elections, do you think they will happen? But do you think this man, President Kabila, is really, anybody to do business with? He has failed. He doesn't talk to us. We look for him, we want to talk to him, we can't see him. So, in the end, the conclusion is, shouldn't even be removed, either through elections or other means. I'm just going to spill some secrets to you today. And it is going on and on and on and on and on. At the end of the day, they can't remove him as they wish. They can't do anything about it. He is elected. Whether they think fairly or unfairly or whatever, they can do nothing about it. Oh, now some reality dawns on them and they say, well, maybe we have to put up with this guy who doesn't talk to us and so on because we like Congo. And they like Congo, but they don't like Congolese, for sure. If they liked Congolese, we wouldn't be having these problems every day of raping and killings and everything and silence over it. And just recently, and before I miss one point that is important, during this period they were asking these questions and planning all sorts of things. I don't think in this world there were more than maybe 3 to 5 countries in this world, I'm not talking about this region, that actually were coming out to say, but why don't you leave this situation to the Congolese? Why don't we? In fact, standing by this situation or by the Congolese so that they sort themselves out. They are not, and those few included Rwanda. And the Congolese know it. But things changed so fast, immediately after the elections. Now Rwanda becomes the villain in the situation. Now Rwanda must be... Now, the same people who are just there on the side plotting and asking and doing this and asking what can be done and saying this man doesn't talk to us, and everything, all of a sudden they turn it around and they are back. They are the ones saying, as of old, we are the ones who can save Congo. Since when? Now, and I think they do it so cleverly because they are complaining that they have no access to the leadership in the Congo and so on and so forth. So they buy access by some tricky ways. I would attempt to explain this. The situation of 2009, as I talked about, which led to Nkunda being here and he's still here. Removing Nkunda was not supposed to be the only thing to do. There were other things that were agreed that should be done. And that was about the whole process of integration of these groups that were fighting. It's about recognizing the citizens of that country that have never been recognized and which keep developing into these problems. It was resolving all those issues, and those issues can only be resolved by the Congolese. It's not by Rwanda, it's not by anybody else. Now, this whole process doesn't happen the way it should happen. So, in the middle of it, the international community starts moving around. Before we realized, they came to us and they were saying, you know what? There is this man Bosco who must be arrested. This man in Uganda, Bosco. I said, oh, fine, that's your business. Do you want to arrest him? Go ahead and arrest him. If you have reasons for which you are arresting him, why would you even need to ask us? Go ahead, go on with the Congolese and... it's like, but we can't do that without the consent of Rwanda. Very silly stuff, honestly. And now this is the point again. Rwanda, there is a responsibility we cannot run away from, or there is an accusation that is going to be there forever that we cannot escape, but for the wrong reason. These Congolese, I've heard some phrases used about them. They call them Rwandophone. Rwandophone is meaning Congolese of Rwandese origin. I mean, of Rwandese, what do they call it? Anyway, they are Congolese, but somehow they have blood in them running from Rwanda. But I don't know. And I'm not responsible for this. No, Rwanda is not responsible for how these Congolese went, or Rwandese happen to be in the Congo and live there and have to be called the citizens of Congo. I have simply, and this Rwanda has no responsibility for it. Somebody else has responsibility for it. How these Rwandans went to be Congolese, I cannot explain. It's none of my business. I don't know about it. I have no responsibility over it. So, if somebody therefore is going to say, oh, there are these Rwandese in the Congo who are supposed to be Congolese citizens, whatever they do, whatever they don't do, whatever they say, reflects what Rwanda thinks and what Rwanda is doing, and so on and so forth in the Congo. There is nothing we can do about it. If there is anybody who can do about it, it's those who created that situation. Do they want to supplant them and bring them back here to live in Rwanda? Let them go ahead and do it. Are there grounds to treat them as citizens of that country? That's fine. They should look at it and see the merits of it. But we cannot have a situation where it is neither this nor that. And in the end, that you should hold Rwanda responsible for. So they go on and say, oh, but, and we tell these people, we say, you know what? For us, don't ask us anything to do with Bosco Ntaganda or with any. Go and ask the Congolese and deal with the Congolese. Go and deal with the MONUSCO, which you created and put there and was supposed to resolve some of these issues. Don't ask us anything. It's none of our business. And however, we also reminded them, we said, we have had a situation for the last 18 years. We have had genocidaires in the Congo. You know what they do every day. You write about it. You talk about how they rape even Congolese, they kill Congolese, children and everything. But you do nothing about it. This is what you should be discussing with us, because those are Rwandese, and we have tried to have this problem addressed, but you are not very helpful. You know where Mudachumura is sitting in his headquarters in Eastern Congo. You know, we give them names. We say, you know all this. You've never come to us to say, this is how we should deal with the matter. Now, you ignore all that and come and start asking us about Bosco Ntaganda. Now, on this, these same people who are complaining about having no access to President Kagame, so they created now a very good reason to have access. Because they would go to President Kagame and say, we can help you with this man who is, after all, first of all, we helped you by making sure that ICC is interested in him. So ICC should be having that man with them and lock him up for you. Now is the time we can actually now arrest him for you. Oh, so now a deal started developing. It was right, we will arrest Ntaganda for you, so because you need him arrested, because he's not responding to your command and so on and so forth, and he needed it. And somebody in the Congo needed it. But again, so they started scratching each other's backs. And that started creating a way to start talking to each other. Now people who did not have access to the leadership in the Congo started doing it because they were presenting how they would help in this case that they wanted sorted out. Because what was it? They were saying they would, during the process of integration which was not completed in the Congo, they would want to transfer soldiers who belong to CNDP to other parts of Congo, which ordinarily is what should happen. And these integrated soldiers would say, no, we are not going anywhere, we will stay in our place of birth because we feel insecure when we are taken to other places. And there is a case that has never been reported and explained, surprisingly again, out of this conspiracy of silence. Some soldiers were taken from Eastern Congo of this other background, the Rwanda phone something, transferred to some place in north-west, and they were all killed instantly, 50 of them. And now these people are saying, look, so if we are transferred and if the process of integration is supposed to work, when we are transferred, we are killed because of who we are. So we will not go anywhere, we will remain here, we will serve in the army, but we won't leave this place. And they thought they would overcome that problem of integration and therefore having all soldiers respond to command equally well, and therefore by saying, you know what, this is happening, instead of really sorting out this issue, they started by saying, you know, let's arrest this commander, or one of the commanders of theirs, and the soldiers will start responding. But the soldiers were not going to, because of this other problem that everybody has kept quiet about. And I'm sure in this room people know about it. But it is always not talked about. Now, and then the whole issue starts building up. And when we learned about it, when we discussed it with the Congolese, we said, what can we do? Because for us, again, the main focus is on continuing to have good relationship with the Congo and to continue to work with the Congolese so that we resolve our problem that still remains based in the Congo, and that is of these FDLR, these genociders in the Congo. That's our best main interest. Now, in this fighting for all kinds of things in the Congo, among the Congolese, now the whole world and the Congolese are saying, no, the problem is Rwanda. Yeah, how does the problem become Rwanda? How? So we tell these people, first of all, you are running around saying you want to arrest somebody, and we were even asking, at what cost are you going to do that? We have, even if it hasn't worked properly, this process of integration and stabilization of Eastern Congo was working well. Now you are plunging into it and turning it upside down again. Do you realize the consequence? And it's like, no, but you see, we have, accountability, we have to hold this man accountable. But you are holding this man accountable and turning the whole of Eastern Congo population upside down and messing it up and opening up the old wounds and just, it's really annoying. It's not only wrong, and everybody now, people are just feasting, writing articles and blaming everyone and say, oh, this man Bosco, we saw him in in a Musanze, drinking in a bar, and very stupid stuff. You would not expect that anybody with grey matter between his ears can be talking about. But that's what goes on with this whole world. Now, but ultimately, and maybe again the last question, ultimately, we will be forced into a situation where we just draw a line and say, well, if you don't even want us to be useful, if you don't want us to participate in finding a solution, and you are just creating false grounds to blackmail us, we don't respond to blackmail. We don't at all. So we will draw a line and say, okay, forget about us and forget about us in the Congo. We will deal with matters just on this side. Whoever finds us here, we will fight it out. And forget about FDLR, forget about Bosco, forget about all the rubbish. And in the end, we are coming to a point where if this nonsense continues, of putting blame on one hand, you want Rwanda to be helpful. On the other, you want to put all the blame on our shoulders. We will offload all these problems that are being put on our shoulders and throw them back to them. And one way of doing it is, I hope it doesn't come to a point where we will even wind up and say, take this man, even the one we are holding here, and think on grounds of like, we are really buying our peace. It's like we are doing it even when it is wrong, just because we want peace with everybody who are having problems with us unfairly. So we will say, take this guy, or we'll tell him, go wherever you want to go and leave this place, because we have no grounds to be having this situation. So, Rugendo, those are some of the issues. I haven't said enough of them. This I have said is just a small bit of it. But I thought maybe it would put us somewhere in terms of understanding what the issues are. But Congo's problems should stop being our problems. And the international community, so-called, should take their responsibility and all right, let's have another set of questions.
So we'll have Philip, and then we have one there, and then Pierre.
Mr. President, Philip Gravich, I wanted to follow up a little bit on a couple of the things about this Congo situation. The peace that had been established over the last 3 years and was holding was understood from the start as you've described it, as a question of, with this ICC warrant hanging over, a stability was more desirable than allowing the execution of this warrant. The way you're describing the breakdown that we've seen in the last few months of the relations between Rwanda and Congo, it seems to be that what you're saying is, we had finally established a relationship where we're talking to each other without interference. And through that, we had established a situation full of flaws, bad integration, many things that hadn't happened, but that it had created a stability and a peace. But the international community, and as you say, we don't always know who that's talking about. For instance, I would be very curious to know who asked you about the possibility of removing Kabila by other means. I can't imagine it was a UN resolution.
Those people who have no definition.
So it seems like what you're really saying is that it's a kind of international meddling has broken that down, and that triangulating off these people, you're no longer talking. But what you reach at the end is the possibility of saying, fine, if it's broken down, we'll leave it broken down. It sounds like you're saying if there's nothing to talk about, and we will leave all these problems to Congo and to the international community. But one of those big problems is, and has been, as you've said, the situation of the Banyarwanda in Congo. You've had a flood of refugees. You've had a flood of refugees into Uganda. And although Rwanda's various reasons for being in Congo, it hasn't been front and center, there has always been a sense that if they're being attacked, if there are genocidaires there attacking them, if there are Congolese who are driving them out and attacking them and massacring them and stripping them of their goods and of their nationality, that's a concern for you.
That is a concern primarily and should be of the international community.
Well, but they seem to have been quite content to ignore the 55,000 you've had here since the last 15 years. And I'm wondering,
yes,
how do you propose withdrawing entirely from engagement with Congo and dealing with the consequences of that as it would affect that quite large community, which would probably be in dire straits and want to come here?
Yes, but the answer lies in what I said. We have to come to a point where the issues in the Congo, whether they involve these Rwandese who are Congolese and so on, doesn't become our responsibility, but the responsibility of the international community, even if they have failed to do it. But that's where the responsibility lies. It's not with us. And worse still, it cannot be that the international community will now turn around and actually start believing or even acting like it is our responsibility. This is what I'm talking about. Yes. And second, what I'm trying to say is what is going on in the Congo should not actually be seen or construed to be any problem between Congo and Rwanda. It's a problem within Congo and the different shades of Congolese. This is what I'm saying. This is how it must be seen and understood, because that's what it is. And in fact, we tell whoever cares to understand, including the Congolese, that you Congolese, don't run away from your responsibility and start also playing like this is our problem. Or that it is a problem of communication between us and you. No. It's a problem of breakdown of communication between you and your people. You see what I mean? For us, we are only in to be part of a solution, because ultimately it benefits our problem that we want addressed best in Congo. You see what I mean?
I do, but if I may for just 1 second, given your view of the so-called international community, putting the problem of the Banyarwanda on the international community sounds like condemning them to a rather grim fate. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, but do you also see a situation where we have to keep having a conflict between Rwanda and the international community? This is the dilemma we are put in. How can Rwanda take on the international community and remain in a fight with the international community? This is what I'm trying to even run away from. But of course, does it create problems for these people at all? Absolutely, it does. But at the end of the day, maybe there will be a point where the international community will stand accused of actually being responsible for the plight of these people. And I don't want to have anything to do with the accusation where Rwanda is accused for being a problem to the Congolese or even to these members of this community. This is the delicate line we are trying to negotiate.
Thanks, Mr. President. This is Isaac Mangena from E-News Channel in Johannesburg. Thanks for spilling the beans, as you said. I just want a quick question. You sounded very much annoyed by the whole accusations against Rwanda.
Not even accusations. the situation.
The situation,
Let
yes.
me put it this way.
Yes.
The accusations will be there, they have been there. It's not that. It's really the actual thing.
Okay.
You know.
Can you expect to see this coming to a point where Rwanda is sending troops to the ground in the DRC? That's one. Two.
What is that? I don't understand.
No, like sending your men, like boots on the ground in the Eastern DRC to try and find a solution for this.
But you, yeah, sometimes
Again.
you also ask questions for the sake of asking. I'm even talking about actually withdrawing our cooperation. You wouldn't do that and then want to send troops. As they say. I actually want maybe some point where we would have nothing to do with the situation of Congo and leave it to the Congolese and to the international community to sort out. Right? So how does that bring in sending troops?
Okay.
So
We go to the next question.
no, let him feel comfortable. Maybe he has some follow-on question. Isn't it?
Okay, I have a question, Mr. President. Since I cannot be seen from this angle, let me select myself. My name is Andrew Mwenda. I'm from the Independent in Kampala. If somebody was a student of geopolitics, their first concern would be these militias in Congo who are Tutsi share a common ethnicity with the leadership in Rwanda. They face a common existential threat of FDLR and other Congolese communities that want to exterminate them. It is they also create a buffer between Rwanda and FDLR, and therefore it is in the vital strategic interests of the Rwanda government to actually prop them. So if they are surviving, from a geostrategic point of view, really Rwanda has a vested interest in supporting them, financing them, and arming them. And if they're active, then Rwanda must be involved. And since Rwanda, many of them were trained from Rwanda here, so there is a historical linkage, there is ethnic linkage, there is a historical linkage, and then there is a strategic need to support them. So from that, if I was an actor in the international community, I would assume that President Kagame has a hand and can easily control them for us. So when the international community say, why do you think they should believe that your government is not involved actively, given those reasons, in helping Ntaganda and his people?
Okay, it is simple, Andrew. Rwanda did not only help and train those you call Tutsis, even those in the government on the other side. Right? Yes, from the top. They were here with us. So why aren't we seeing that we are actually helping them? You know, there is...
with them in Kinshasa, you don't share common ethnicity.
Sorry?
You don't share common ethnicity with them.
Well, who knows? But I have also heard of those accusations, after all. Secondly, let me say this. In fact, it is not true because, again, this is where falsehood comes up. In this rebellion you are talking about is not just by Tutsis, right? No. Even maybe a little bit of background again. During the CNDP problem and integration with the government, there were actually two groups that were supposed to be integrated. One was the group of CNDP, right, which was largely known to be Tutsis of Congo. The other was another group called Pareco. I don't know whether people have heard about that, which is largely Hutus. That is in Eastern Congo. Now, if you investigate properly, what I have heard is that this rebellion now combines the two. Pareco and CNDP are together in this current rebellion. And not only that, this time it was in public domain these other groups, these other tribes have also joined them. Right? So it means the problem is much bigger than just the Tutsi thing that people keep talking about. And maybe that validates my point that the problem is not just this small thing that if you remove, even if you removed these Tutsis, all of them, and brought them here, because one thinks they belong here, I don't think you'd have addressed even a bit of the problems in the Congo. So this is the truth of the matter.
Okay, so next we'll take Pierre, Alex, Albert, and then Reuters at the back.
Mr. President, I'm Pierre Boisselier from Jeune Afrique. My question will be on the relationship between France and Rwanda.
Between?
France and Rwanda.
Right.
But first I'd like to come back to the matter of Congo and ask you a precision.
I thought you were done with it, but go ahead.
Yeah, just a short precision. Can you be specific on the programs you are considering dropping in case the accusations against Rwanda?
The what?
The programs you said you
Programs?
Yes, of collaboration you said you were considering to drop in case the accusation against Rwanda went on.
No, I was saying, you see, you can't be involved in a process where you are trying to find a solution, and that's all you are focused on, and at the same time, this is not seen as such, and you are actually accused as the source or the cause of the problem. And then you continue as if nothing has happened. This is really what I'm trying to say. And the outcome can be in different forms and shades. That's all.
Mine is very bad. I'm French. With your permission, I can speak in French to be clear. Monsieur le Président, je suis Alex de France.
Somebody, then you have a translator here?
So we have some
of these?
Yes, sir.
Why doesn't somebody translate? Sure. Yes. Open so that when I answer, everybody is also clear. I'm answering the question that was asked, not a different one. Somebody should help us.
Je suis Alex de France 24 et Vox Africa, c'est pour des médias. Monsieur le Président, c'est par rapport au Congo, je reviens un peu. Vous avez expliqué que le Rwanda n'est nullement impliqué dans ce qui se passe au Congo aujourd'hui. Mais les Congolais, les autorités congolaises ne veulent pas l'entendre de cette oreille. Dernièrement, ils vous ont encore accusé d'être à la base de ce qui se passe à l'Est actuellement. Est-ce que vous prévoyez une rencontre avec le président Kabila, par exemple, et le gouvernement congolais pour essayer de mettre au clair la situation afin que plus jamais ce genre d'accusations ne reviennent? C'est la première question. Excusez-moi d'ajouter une deuxième question. C'est un rapport avec la politique interne rwandaise, excusez-moi. C'est un rapport avec Madame Ingabire, qui est aujourd'hui en prison. Est-ce que vous pensez qu'il est possible de revenir sur ce problème d'Ingabire, les traiter à fond, vouloir comprendre ce qu'elle veut et discuter avec elle, par exemple, parce que elle représente quand même une opinion, même si elle n'est pas très répandue au Rwanda aujourd'hui, mais cette opinion existe, causer avec cette opinion, voir ce qu'ils veulent et essayer de trouver une solution à l'amiable. Le Rwanda a prouvé qu'il peut trouver des solutions au problème avec les Gachacha, qui a jugé plusieurs personnes. Pourquoi on ne peut pas aussi trouver une solution assez forte par rapport à la situation de Madame Ingabire? Merci.
How many questions are those?
So this is Alex from France 24 and Africa, Vox Africa. He says you explained that Rwanda is not involved in Rwanda. Rwanda is not involved in Congo. But the Congolese do not want to hear this. They're convinced that Rwanda is involved. Mm-hmm. Do you have any plans to meet with President Kabila and the Congolese people?
We also have, even now, we have people on the ground in Kinshasa, as we have had other meetings where Congolese have been here a couple of times. So people are talking. We really want to make sure we understand each other on issues, on the main issues, the cause, the effect of the problems, and the possibility of us contributing to a solution. So the discussions are ongoing. There's communication going on at different levels, and I hope we can probably have reason prevail and get to some good. So you mean you will help him, because maybe he missed the first part? Can you? So can somebody help him maybe on the first part of the answer I had given?
Alex, vous avez compris la première question, la première réponse. Vous avez compris?
Oui, j'ai entendu. Donc je comprends un peu l'anglais, mais c'est pas très bon.
Okay.
No, but somebody can try and summarize for him. No, say it.
They are translating for him into French.
No, but he hadn't used this.
They're telling it to him now in French.
So they are repeating what I said earlier. Perfect. So for the DRC, I think there is a good process ongoing. We are talking at different levels, and we are finding a solution. Now, on this other second question, I would have even preferred to ignore it and just leave it to remain a matter of where justice has to be seen to be done as the process is ongoing, the issue of Ingabire. And his opinion, the one who asked the question, is that Ingabire represents a voice of some kind, which would mean maybe anybody represents a voice of some kind. Anybody. Even if you had armed robbers, people who shoot people on the streets for money, and grab the money and take it away and even maybe kill people, and then if the police arrested them, somebody may say, I'm doing this in the name of people who are poor. When you are poor and you have nothing to eat, you can go on the street and kill people. And so he said, I'm doing it in the name of so many. So that may then actually legalizes criminality of some kind. Now, if you don't know a little bit of history of Rwanda, or unless something is wrong and it gets lost on people, yes, these people who committed genocide here, on whose hands we lost 1 million people, they were actually saying they had a voice. They were speaking for the majority of Rwandans who thought in any way they are threatened or by another section of our population, and therefore this section of the population should be killed, and people should get rid of them, and that's their opinion. So maybe you need that going on everywhere, even where you come from. Maybe you need some people being tired of others and saying, we don't want these people, so we can carry out a genocide against them, because that's the opinion of where those who want to carry out a genocide are coming from. I don't know whether this is the reasoning that he would say, I'm representing the people, and these people think the others are a danger to us, and we should exterminate them for who they are, and it's an opinion, it's a voice. So, let it go on. Would you let it go on because it is a voice, or this is pure and simple serious criminality? So, therefore, I don't know whether you have sufficient information about this case, and this is why I was saying I would have left it just to be a matter of the court case where it is already and be treated as such. But there is sufficient evidence, witnesses, facts to show that this case falls in the category I was talking about, and that underlies the tragedy we have had here in Rwanda. Maybe people from other places can afford to treat it as simple as that. I don't know, but I'm sure if you experienced it in your own country, maybe you would not be talking about this.
Mr. President, with your permission, maybe we'll take the last 3 to 4 questions.
Sure.
So we'll have Albert, then Ginny, and then we'll have Reuters.
No, but I think let me have somebody direct in front of me here who has been.
Sure.
Go ahead.
That's me?
Yes.
All right. I'd like to follow up a little bit on what you said earlier, and thank you for giving me the chance. You can't be spilling secrets and just crack the door open. All right?
It was a public secret anyway.
Well, can you expound on it a little bit? Can you tell us a little bit about what means there were discussions about and what parties were discussing this option with you?
About what?
Getting rid of Kabila, of course.
Sorry?
Getting rid of Kabila.
No, I should be asking you. You people in the media know this very well.
Is there anything further you can expound on that, either the parties, the nature of the discussions and the possibilities?
No. I think that is the farthest I could go in terms of being as open as I should.
Okay, well in that case let me follow up on something that you said that sounded like a threat. We were talking about something that you said that sounded like a threat. You're referring, well, this is my question to who? You said, we're coming to a point, it sounded like you're coming to a breaking point, and we'll offload all the problems that are on our shoulders and throw them back.
Yes.
Who were you talking about specifically? Which kind of problems?
The other people who have no identity.
But are you talking about countries? Are you talking about entities? Is the global community, the UN, Congo? I mean, there's a lot of parties.
Whoever in the international community.
You can't be slippery with the secrets and this.
No, but there's no secret about international community. When you say international community, you know what I mean.
Well, what do you mean by offloading problems? Which problems specifically are you talking about? Are you talking about...
Okay, let me simplify this.
Thank you.
I'm talking about simply saying Congo's problems should not be put on Rwanda's shoulders. Rwanda, we have our own problems to deal with, and we try to deal with them as best we can. And somebody should not just keep dumping problems from other places on our doorstep. This is what I'm talking about.
Mr. President, Ginny Stein from ABC Australia Television. My question relates to Bosco Ntaganda. What would removing him actually do to the situation in Eastern Congo?
I don't know, because I'm not responsible for Bosco Ntaganda. He's Congolese, go and ask the Congolese.
Sure, but the problems he's causing are causing problems for Rwanda. The problems actually for Rwanda are caused by others, not even him. What secrets does he have? Why the reluctance on Rwanda's part?
Why?
What secrets does he hold? that stop Rwanda taking action against him when he was on
Go and
Rwandan
ask him.
soil?
Go and ask him. Go and ask, or go and ask those people who have him. He's not here. He's in Congo.
But
He's not in our hands that we are protecting him so that he doesn't spill secrets. Go find him where he is. Go ask Congolese and ask them what secrets he holds. He's not with us. You see, if he was being kept here and protected and shielded, then you would say, no, but you are doing it for some reason. But he's not here, so go find him where he is.
if he crossed over, would Rwanda arrest him?
No. Why isn't he being arrested where he is? Why do you ask me whether I would arrest him when he comes here? Ask those why didn't, if they were even interested in arresting him. Right? Now, let me speak to this. Even if there were accusations that, for 6 months in a year, he's in Rwanda, and for another 6 months over there, he's in the DRC, right? Why don't you ever ask yourself, because we're not the ones looking for him, why don't you ask yourself, why didn't those people who are looking for him, for any reason, arresting him when he's with them?
But Rwanda is an international citizen. Rwanda, answers to the world. This is a very damaging situation for Rwanda.
No, but you're not answering my question. Damaging Rwanda for what? Of course, anything can be damaging to Rwanda if that's how you want to look at it. But this is exactly what I'm talking about. Why do you create a scenario, a situation out of Rwanda and bring it and put it on our doorstep just to cause problems? Why? I've asked you a question. And I wish you could listen or even tell you some of those people where you come from. Please. Bosco, you are talking about, I don't know why you are looking for him. It's none of my business. I don't manage Congo. I don't manage Bosco. I have nothing to do with him. That's number one. Number two, the international community pays MONUSCO. They have a force in the DRC. First of all, you should be asking yourself, what are these people there to do? You need to ask yourself that. Second, if you have a force there, and you have a government there in the Congo, and this is where this person is, why do you leave this place and come and ask for Bosco here? You must ask yourself that and answer yourself. What is this obsession of always asking Rwanda? Why are you ignoring these fellows where the problem belongs?
So if I was in Congo, I would ask them in Congo, but I'm here and the Human Rights Watch says he comes backwards and forwards.
Rubbish with Human Rights Watch. Yes, please don't bring Human Rights Watch here in Rwanda. Rubbish with them.
We'll take our last two questions from Jenny.
Thank you, Mr. President. Jenny Clover for Reuters. You mentioned earlier Laurent Nkunda. Excuse my pronunciation.
I'm surprised you pronounced it so well.
Was that okay? Thank you. I wondered if you could just give us an update on his situation and whether he's still under house arrest.
Yes, he's still confined someplace. But more importantly, there has continued to be engagement between Rwanda officials and DRC officials until recently, and we are continuing to find how we dispose of this case. Hopefully, we should find a way out soon. We have really continued talking over this problem between ourselves, and we have even brought in some third parties who may help us. Let me tell you this again. At some point, as we've been discussing how we deal with this case, some people came to us and say, you hand this man over to to DRC. And we said, well, no problem. But we are mindful of the process. You know what? We want to hand this man over to you so that you hand him over to DRC. And they said, no, you do it directly. And we said, no, but what stops you wanting to receive him and hand him over is what stops us from handing him over directly. You see what I mean? You know, there are these tricks really that people play, you know. We said, if there is nothing wrong, if you really think there is nothing wrong handing him over to the government in DRC, then let's give him to you so that you do it for us. And since you are interested, because you have even come to us to tell us what to do about it, right? That tells you something. Yes. So that's why we want to talk and see how to simply handing him over or letting him go. These are issues that we need to. And this is why I'm saying there have been difficulties of how we manage the case, but that's another matter. If only it didn't result for us into some of these other problems that are created for us. All right?
Your Excellency, thank you very much for the time that you've given to us.
Thank
Members
you.
of the press, thank you.
Thank you very much.